This is BoomerLife on CL 650.
You got a face to call home.
We're back. And we're back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thank you so much for joining us today. In our studio, we're speaking with Janice Hamill from HomeCareAssistance. Janice is the senior case manager with the company. We also have Sophie Salcido. Sophie is a wealth advisor with Van City. And Nicole Cameron sitting beside me, a sales manager at Dignity Memorial. We're talking today about the values of pre-planning. You need to know that a company like HomeCareAssistance not only is focused to help change the way that the world ages, but they look at the big picture when providing home care, the complete picture for you and your family. So we know that many Canadians and many listening to this show right now, including myself, do not have a valid will. And many have avoided the other big topic of funeral planning. It's something that we all simply must do. So, Nicole, we're over to your court. Tell us why these two issues are so important.
Well, definitely you need to have a valid will. It helps along the process when somebody has passed. We need to know who that we're talking to is the correct person to look after the estate. For is it the executor or the executrix? So you need to go and get your will.
I have a date. Okay. Actually, it's booked. It's November 6th. I'll be talking about it.
That's good.
But what happens when somebody doesn't have a will?
Well, they're going to be meeting with a funeral director. When they meet with the funeral director, the director is going to ask them for a valid will. If they do not have a valid will, it would then go to the next of kin, whether it be the eldest child, whether it be a spouse, either one would work.
Or a parent?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they get to fill in all the blanks.
They do. One of the things is that nobody ever really wants to talk about this. My job is to help people through the worst days of their lives. And what we try to do is really educate people to think about prearranging. And it is a difficult conversation to have, but it is a conversation that you need to have. I've been doing this for 7 years now, and what I've seen is when you go into an arrangement room and no plans have been made, the amount of tension that is in the room is you can cut it with a knife. But then on the other hand is when you go into an arrangement where everything has been made and the family sitting around the table are sharing stories, they're reflecting on their loved one, and it's a simpler process.
It's not an easy process either, because if someone has just died or passed away, you're dealing with huge emotion, levels of shock, grief, disbelief.
And I can speak on that. I recently lost my mother about a year ago, and I have been doing this for a long time, and I myself felt the amount of grief and felt that I didn't know what to expect. And I've been doing this a long time. So even somebody who has that ability to know what's coming up, I still felt the pressure. And there are over 80 questions that a funeral director has to ask in that arrangement. So it is, and unfortunately my mother was not prearranged because it was a sudden illness. So
you had a lot of weight on your shoulders, and even with all the expertise you had, it was still an extremely difficult process.
Yes, it was.
Wow. That's an eye-opener for me as well. What are some of the most important areas to be aware of and what does it really mean to pre-plan your final arrangements?
Well, what we look at Dignity is really protecting hopefully everybody that comes through our door, and with what we call the circle of protection. And the circle of protection really pertains to funeral arrangements, cemetery arrangements, and something called TRPP, which is Transportation Relocation Plan. Funeral arrangements could be everything from, are they wanting to be cremated? Are they wanting to be burial? Traditional services. Are they not wanting a service? The list goes on. On the funeral side, on cemetery, are they wanting to be buried? Are they wanting to be to make it a cremation burial? Are they wanting to be entombed? There's many things that has to go on the cemetery side as well. So it's really about looking for the whole complete package.
It really is it's a much bigger picture than we imagine. Just like a financial plan, what are some of the steps that we should be looking at?
Well, you really want to make sure, one, that you're educated, you're comparing apples to apples, and you really are doing your homework. When choosing a Dignity provider like ourselves at Dignity Memorial, you're really locking in your pricing today, so you're not having to pay inflation later on. You're avoiding overspending when you prearrange, so that your family at the time is grieving. They may not know what mom or dad would have wanted, and they're going to overspend. And that's what we find time and time again, is they have that guilt, that they haven't had that conversation. Also is finding a good provider that suits you and suits your family. It's really about building a legacy and having that service pertain to you and what your wishes are and what your views on life are. It's really about celebrating that life lived.
Well, I don't want to make this about money because it's an extremely emotional time for many. But I have learned from past experience, it costs a lot of money to die. It's a far bigger picture than anyone imagines. And you raised a very good point about one of the benefits of pre-planning would be you're booking everything in at today's prices.
Yes.
Then you don't have to worry about inflation further down the road, whether it's, 2 years or 22 years. Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Hadn't even thought about that before. What about support? Do you offer any kind of support or guidance?
We do. We have Compassion Helpline for all families that come through our facility. We also have support groups at a number of our Dignity Memorial locations for families who have either lost a child or a spouse. So they could reach out to any one of our locations, and we have that available to them.
So I guess when trying to pre-plan your own personal final arrangements, where would be the best place to start?
Is starting with a conversation. Starting with a conversation with your family, letting them know that this is something that you're thinking about doing. Looking at different financial options as well. You can put it on payment plans. A lot of people don't realize that they can put it on a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year plan if they're wanting to. It's not meant to break the bank. It's meant to take care of those people who are left behind. And that's something that you have to keep in mind and this is a little bit heavy, but it's really not about you at that time. It's about the people who are left behind and about them celebrating your life.
You've actually put it all in great perspective for many of us. You make it sound so practical. Do you have any advice on how we actually start that conversation?
Well, it's and I know we've talked about this before. Sometimes you want to take it back to your kids and you want to say, this is what we want to do. But a lot of the times they don't really want to hear about mom or dad passing or yourself and taking that to your kids. But it really is truly just literally a conversation. You can come to any one of our locations. All of our advisors go into the home. They will come and visit with you. They will walk you through step by step on what to expect, how everything works, how the funeral policies work, cemetery policies. So somebody will definitely be able to come to you and go over everything with you.
So hold on to that thought about starting the conversation, because I would like to carry that on with our other guests in the next portion of the show. You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650, and joining us in the studio today, we've been speaking with Nicole Cameron, who's a sales manager at Dignity Memorial. We're also joined by Sophie Salcido, who's a wealth advisor from Van City, and representing HomeCareAssistance today, their senior case manager, Janice Hamill. Today's program, it's all about pre-planning and its benefits for everything from your senior living arrangements to home care to pre-planning your own funeral. There's a lot more to learn here, and there's a lot more from all of our guests today. it's all going to benefit you as the boomer. When we come back, this is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.